Oh, where is that bloody thing? God bugger me, what's going on here? Where is it? Oh, hello. Welcome to Classic Motorcycle TV. In this episode, we've got for you Restoration Corner. It's been said that for every hour that you spend restoring a motorcycle, you probably spend half as much time again looking for bits that you've dropped on the ground somewhere, like me at the moment with this thing. Anyway, enjoy. Okay, we're not quite alphabetical, but next along in the line is a couple of bikes from Yamaha. These two bikes are part of the XJ series of touring bikes, sports touring bikes. Having said that, both of these models ran in the Castrol 6-hour production race in Australia. The 900 did very well. I think got second or third, got a rostrum placing. Not sure the 750 didn't do as well. The 900 was a restoration project. It was actually two bikes turned into one bike that had been down on its side, another bike that the engine, some bloke decided he wanted to do some engine work on it and then got sick of it and didn't do anything. So some very interesting photos of it on our Facebook site, Brisbane Classic Motorcycle Collection. But yes, the classic sports tour, XJ Sports Tourer, shaft drive. The shaft is on the left hand side. 4-into-2 exhaust system, very Yamaha this period. The 650, the 750, the 900, all very similar. Twin cam, the oil cooler up the front, you can see that on both bikes, look very similar. The 900 runs a bit with the full fairing. And you see that these single pot calipers are very similar technologies. The interesting thing with Yamahas, and people don't necessarily notice, they are actually vented discs. See that they vent the disc through the middle rather than your typical drilled style over here. So at this stage, so this is 85, this one. Whereas you look over on this side on the 750, which is 82, 83, and it's running a slotted venting. No fancy anti-dive rubbish on this one. Just be your right hand is your anti-dive, anti-lock. Engine on this one's been fully rebuilt. Hasn't been run yet. Got to replace the coils, it's misfiring. But anyway, and see the difference in the dash. So just to remind you what you're riding. And what's interesting on the early model 900s is they had these fully adjustable handlebars, which disappeared on the later models. So not only could you adjust them for reach, but you could adjust them for height as well. And much easier given that the clip-on actually sits above the top clamp, not below the top clamp, so a little bit easier on the shoulder. And again, you can see in there the toothed adjuster, so you can actually move them around. Strangely enough, it got dropped. I guess people weren't tightening the bolts up properly and having a bit of fun. Cable clutch, no hydraulic clutch there. And hydraulic brake, but is the tack you can see there, right of place. Clock, morning lights, and the fuel. Switch gear pretty straightforward, typical 80s Yamaha. Anybody who's owned an 80s Yamaha would recognise that. Lots of different switches and choke on the outside, just to be different to everybody else. That's the 900, and then we'll come across to the 750. And what's interesting with the 750 is they started to try and get a little bit clever. So about this time, you also have the XJ650 Turbo, which is a technological, I'm not going to answer, I'm going to add adjective there, or a noun. But lots of ideas. You've got to admit that they weren't afraid to try ideas. So it's got a fog light, which didn't seem to go anywhere. And I'm going to sneak in here and see if you can see this. That's actually there is the brake front brake reservoir. Now you top it up through the back here, that's the actual fluid reservoir there, but it runs a cable from the right hand brake switch down to there, to the pump, and then you get the hydraulics from here. No idea what they're thinking. I don't know if it's meant to get weight off the handlebar or whatever it was, but it is a pain. And you can see down through here, the end result of when you get a bit of overflow, everything seems to get brake fluid on it. Great idea, Yamaha. Massive front headlight for the time, although very similar setup to the 900, as you can see. Those of you that actually know one of these will know it's supposed to have the horn sitting out the side here one day. You see the twin cam 8 valve, 4 carburetors, runs 4 into 2, shaft drive, drum brake on the back. Unlike the 900, which runs a disc brake mechanism, drum brake on the back. So that's always interesting. And again, original bike, unrestored. It had a fair bit of engine work done on it because just at the age of where it wasn't particularly well looked after when we got it, but it's still running front rims, original front brakes. And here's the other technological attempt down here. Here's Yamaha's version of the anti-dive front end. It's a gear adjuster underneath here, and the anti-dive piston at the bottom of the fork, and your brake caliper there running off the same hydraulic system. Does it work? I'm not going to answer that. I don't know. Never really ridden it hard enough to find out. So there you go, XJ750. So this is Restoration Corner. So this is our project bikes here. Projects in progress. We've got a KR250. Same as the one that's up the driveway. You can actually see what one looks like under the skin. The engine's off being rebuilt at the moment. But you also see that I'm building this one with the mirrors on the handlebars, a bit like the Japanese model rather than the Australian delivered model, which had the mirrors running off the fairing. Getting there. It only needs the engine, and we should be pretty close to back together. But you can see what it looks like underneath. Next to that is the Ducati 748. This bike is actually just getting a respray. The bike was actually a theft recovery that a man had taken an eternity to get re-registered, but the fairing still unfortunately showed the damage, as did the right hand front stay, which is gone. Got a new one of those coming. So I've just had a bit of a fiddle along the way, replaced the brake pistons, gave the brake a front end rebuild. It's really interesting. I rebuilt the brakes on this after having done the Takikos on the front of the XR-750. They are exactly the same, even down to the width and size of the pistons and the seals. So maybe I shouldn't say that, because I'll have to one day work out whether I can put a Takiko piston into a Brembo brake. There's an experiment. It can only end one way. GSXR-750 Suzuki. Again, this one is off having it's an 86 model. It's off having its fairings redone. Anyone who knows these bikes knows they're notorious for melting their plastics and being as brittle as, but it's nice to actually see what's underneath the skin. And a massive oil cooler at the front there. You compare that to the Yamaha we were looking at previously. The other thing that you'll notice here is that we're starting into the regime, so 86, the regime of tuned exhaust, and you can start to see how the exhaust headers snake away from the front of the cylinder there, and see the getting the optimal length for the pulses to get the optimum power from the bike. Interesting packaging, again of course oil cooled, that massive oil cooler at the front, but you can see what it looks like under the fairing. Big airbox, it's a bit of a signature with the GSXRs. Still running its original muffler at the back there. Original wheels, and there's the, again, mid-80s anti-dive. It's just everywhere. Next to that is a VF1000F FE. So you can tell the FE from the FF because it runs the 16 front wheel. This will probably be the last project that we do in the collection. It's going to be a full strip engine rebuild. It just hasn't been looked after. But for example, that toggle switch there was the ignition switch when I got it, but we've reinstalled a new ignition switch. You can sort of see it's very complete. It's a perfect basis for a restoration, still running the original exhaust system on that. See, and even the switch gear's in pretty good nick. And the mirrors, got the mirrors, and there's that VF dash. You know, we'll look at the FF later on in the 750. You'll see it looks very familiar, except for the trip piece down the bottom. I'll come back and have a look at show you the dash for the GSXR-750. Of course, you can tell it's Japanese market because of the fuel gauge. Australian market bikes didn't have the fuel gauge. But the beautiful thing about Japanese market bikes is they don't run CV carburetors, they run flat slides. So when this bike turned up, the carburetors, the first set of flat slides actually had a bent rail, so the carburetors wouldn't work, so I had to buy another set. Don't ask. I can show you the dash on the 748 as well. Ooh. So, you ever wonder what it looks like 748 looks like under the skin? Just like a 996, smaller engine. This one's still got the original pipes too. I should have shown you those. None of that Tommy rubbish here. But, there's that dash and that wonderful classic green tacho with no red line. And here's the last bike in Resto Corner. Yes, it is missing its engine. It is a 1975 Honda Goldwing. The original Goldwing flat 4 1000 GL1000 acres and acres of chrome. So it's a project in progress at the moment. Engine's off being rebuilt. That seat will go. The original and the best. So it took a long time to get all this put together. And there's the dash. Yes, it's not the original. Correct GL1000 centre for a 75. It's a 76 dash centrepiece. But it's got the green clocks, which we want. So very nice. So, of course, as everybody knows, that's not the fuel tank. The fuel tank actually sits down in here. That's the fuel tank there. This is all just carry case fake stuff. These things fold down. Got the kick lever in there. Fuel gauge on the top. And Bob's your uncle. Shaft drive. You can sort of see the shaft down the bottom there with the shaft entry. GL1000 Goldwing.